Greetings, this is Sean, and today I'm going to show you how I made this little grandfather clock. Today I'm going to be making the grandfather clock that I just showed you a little bit ago, and this is how we're getting started. I put everything on Cricut and cut this out of a 1/16 inch thick piece of basswood, and that is the layout of all the pieces that I've got. And I may end up turning this into a little kit or something like that that I might sell later on. I'm debating on that, but anyway, that just shows where all the pieces are, and so I know which pieces go where, of course. And the little circle that you see cut out, that will be to hold a watch, and that is actually going to have to be I have to make that hole a different size for each watch face that I'm going to actually use, because you can see the little watch over there on the right hand side or the left hand side that I'm going to be using for this grandfather clock. And I'm just going to go ahead and stain all of the wood before I even take them off of the cut sheet here. It'll make it a lot easier later on, rather than trying to stain it afterwards with gluing and all that. I thought I'd try a different approach this time. So anyway, I'm using I think it was American walnut, I think is what it was. The two different colors that you see down there in the bottom right hand corner of the cut sheet are the two different ones that I tried. One was a dark walnut, which looked a little bit too dark and too, I don't know, it didn't look good. This looked a lot better, so I'm using it. I like this little pen. These pens, they work really good. They dry really quick, and I think they're alcohol based too, so they don't warp the wood too bad. So anyway, those are the parts I'm going to use first, the A, B, C, D, and E, to make the bottom section. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, of course. And so I just have to go through, and I'm going to have to cut each one of them out, because my Cricut cutter, I purposely do it so that it doesn't go all the way through the wood. I have to cut it the rest of the way, just because it's easier to take it all off at that, after it's done cutting on the Cricut maker. So yes, it's a little bit more work, but that's okay. I get straighter lines. It doesn't cut up my mat as much, and it doesn't tear out the wood as much either. So anyway, I'm just gonna go through this real quickly, and I need to get a different knife because that was really flimsy knife. Get a little bit heftier one here. And there are a couple places where I thought I was recording and didn't record, so you'll be missing parts of the build completely, but I'll explain what happens when we get to those. Anyway, there was also, I had miscounted the number of pieces that I needed, and I didn't actually cut them all out on the Cricut maker for this bottom part, so off camera I had to cut some extra pieces of part A, that one, and part B, that one. So anyway, this will be the very bottom of it, and basically I'm just going to be gluing pieces together. And then after I get done, I'll go through and restain all the edges and that type of thing. And I did get my glue bottle fixed, glue unstuck. I just kind of emptied it all out and added some fresh glue to it, and it was really dried out up at the top, so I started all over. So it's working better now. Sorry about the dirty lens that you're seeing on this camera. I didn't realize it was so dirty, and because I have no way of monitoring this while I'm filming, so I had no idea it was this dirty. But anyway, it gets worse. I'll have to admit, it does get worse as I'm, using blowing sawdust off and all that. It gets stuck to the lens, you'll see, and at one point you'll even see a piece of sawdust that's stuck to my beard. But anyway. This part that I'm gluing up right here it goes in between the top section and the middle or the bottom section and the middle section. So and here I'm taking what they're like a fake door, just to make it look like there's some doors here. And after having glued them on and put them in, I didn't like the way it looked, and I didn't want to have those on there, but it was too late for me to take them off. So it's just gonna look, I didn't put any door handles on it later on. I just left it there as a decoration, for lack of better terms. But do something else down at the bottom. Took a little bit of creative interest with the design that I saw, and you'll see that later on. But that piece that I got gluing there was supposed to simulate doors. But anyway, just thought I'd point that out. Anyway, I'm getting ready to start on the middle section, and this was supposed to look like a door too, but I decided not to make it a door. It's just framed. Okay, what I'm doing here is I am taking the round disc that was cut out for the face, and I'm using it as a template to cut the top and bottom of this middle section here, the frame of it. So it's just got a rounded edge, just a little bit of a decoration, basically. And then I'll take that same disc and cut out part of the top section as well later on. So anyway, here I'm just sanding it all, make it nice and pretty. I was singing a song, by the way, not talking to myself. And now I've got a piece of piece of plastic off of like a muffin tin or a muffin carton or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it came from. Salad container. Anyway, I'm just cutting out a strip that will go behind that frame that I just built to act as a piece of glass. I didn't want to use super glue to glue that down, because super glue has a tendency to make that kind of plastic cloudy and cloud over and whatnot. It's just easier to use the white glue, tacky glue. Okay, it's done curing. Oop! I accidentally glued my triangle there, or my square there. Anyway, that's what the middle section is going to look like, and the back I'm going to put on later because I'm going to need to keep it off while I'm putting the pendulum on and whatnot. But that'll fit on there. The original plans that I saw called for that to be able to be removed, which I didn't understand why it needed to be removed, so I went ahead and glued it in later on permanently. So, anyway, it was just a little bit. The plastic was a little bit bigger than it needed to be, so you can kind of see there's a gap where the plastic is showing through, but that's no big deal. That's what makes it unique. So anyway, here I am gluing the middle section onto the bottom section, obviously. Okay, now to this next piece that I'm taking out here is the top of the middle section, and it has these little cutouts for the pendulum and the weights to fit through, which is what I'm cutting out there. Adding some more stain, of course. Staining up the pendulum rod there. And here I'm going to be drilling a couple holes, which I started to do with the things, but they were starting to split the wood, as you may have briefly seen there, so I just got my pin vise with a small, I think it was a 1/32 inch drill, and then I'll take a piece of music wire there to hold it in place later on. And then for the pendulum bob at the end, I'm using a couple of small watch gears, keeping with the steampunk theme. And even though this isn't going to go in the steampunk conservatory, but I just like the way it ended up looking. Again, taking creative licensing. So I'm just going to use a little bit of super glue, which was clogged from the last time I used it. Whatever you do, whenever you use accelerator, don't touch the tip of your bottle to the accelerator, otherwise it'll clog up like it did. So anyway, there I am just gluing the two gears that I sandwiched together. And they're going to go up through that front hole, that small hole, and just attaching a piece of music wire to a hole that I drilled to the top of it there to hold it in place. Anyway, that went a little bit quicker than I wanted it to, but that's okay. Now here I'm getting ready to do the the top section of it. I'm getting all the pieces. There's not too many left. There is one piece on here that I end up not using, which is part U on the list there. It's for a crown that goes on top, but I decided not to do that. Just leave that. I wanted to leave that part off. Okay. Here's my big oopsie for this one. I just cut it right off. I was trying to scrape it clean, and it just decided it wanted to be over there instead. So, oh well. I just ended up gluing it back. It took me a while to figure out how it actually went back on, but it got sliced off the bottom of it there, and so anyway, I just get it glued back together and carried on. Okay, here I'm taking the last 4 pieces out of the off of the cut sheet, and this is going to make up the top of the clock. I am going to glue it all together, but I'm not going to attach it until the very end, because I do need to put the clock face on, and that can be kind of tricky. But I had to come up with different ways of doing it to be able to secure the watch face in, but at the same time be able to remove it to replace the battery and whatnot. Unfortunately, the battery, or the watch that I was using, was an old one that I thought just had a dead battery, and I went and bought a new battery to replace it, but it ended up being something else. So the watch that's actually in it doesn't work. But I'll be able to find another watch at another time that's the same size, because it's a fairly common, it's only an inch in diameter, so I should be able to find something that I can use to replace it. So it was a Timex, which it took a licking, but it stopped ticking. Anyway, here I am just touching up some of the places that need to be stained and getting ready to glue it all together. I forgot to do the other sides of those inside boards there, the middle section, so I'm doing that. And there you can see the weights that I didn't get filmed. I thought I was filming but didn't. But anyway. Here I am gluing the top section on. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of sanding down I'm using my little Q-tip sander there, and sanding down where the watch face goes in to give it a little bit of a bevel so it'll sit in there a little bit better. And it came unglued. So now what I'm going to do, my head's in the way, is I'm going to, excuse me, I'm trying to figure out how far from the bottom of the top section the watch band holder pin thingies, whatever you want to call them, are sitting. So I'm just gluing some 16th inch pieces together just to kind of give me a gauge to figure out how big I need that to make it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of wood, actually 2 pieces of wood, to stick down on the top of that middle section right there where I'm working at, right next to the holes where the chains go through, to hold the watch face up in place is what I'm doing. So it ended up being about 1/4 of an inch, or yeah, about 1/4 of an inch. So I cut off some little dowel and stuck them there, as you can see, to hold that watch up in place while it's sitting there. And then I'm going to take some small scrap pieces of wood that you see laying about, and I will cut a little holder to kind of slip in behind the watch to hold it up against the face. And then I make a couple little braces that are glued to the side, but that part that you kept seeing me that's holding on the back there, I started to glue it in place. I thought, nope, I need to be able to take it out, but if I've got the top on, I can't get it out very easily. So I had to take that out, and now what I'll do is I will glue some pieces on the sides, as you'll see, to hold that piece of wood in place, so that I can slip it up and down and out to be able to remove the watch. It'll be clear when you see it. There you can kind of see how it works. The little bar slides down and holds the watch face in place. So, anyway, now that I've got that, I can finish the top, and I should be done. Now here I was debating on which way I wanted to have the top be. I could have either had it sitting down into it or sitting on top of it, and I ultimately decided to have it sit down in it. So there's a little bit of a gap in the back, but that's okay. It'll be sitting up against a wall. Here I took some brass tubes to... The original plan had called for some wood spindles to be put in there, but I like the brass look instead. So I just got some brass tubes to fit, and then I filled in the door area, that little gap in the door to, kind of color it in so that it didn't look so much like a door. But anyway, that's about it. All it is a matter of putting the watch back in, and there you go. It'll be 9:37 for the rest of its time until I get a new watch face. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. It's about 6.5 inches tall, and it's about 2 inches wide, 1.5 2 inches wide. So let me know what you think. In the meantime, have a better day, as I always say.